Richard Dawkins has a new book in defense of evolution. It's called The Greatest Show on Earth, The Evidence for Evolution. It was published late last year, 2009. And while I haven't had a chance to go through all of it, I've found some very choice quotations, many of which are found in an article that he wrote called Creationists, Now They're Coming for Your Children. And you can find it online. And what's interesting about this, you're beginning to see the desperation among the evolutionists is because you find that Dawkins and others are comparing a criticism of evolution as similar to the denial of the Holocaust. When that starts happening, you are seeing a worldview with lots of cracks in it. When you have to resort to such inflammatory ad hominems or poisoning of the well, you know that your system is in trouble. This was very similar to what the climate change people did. Of course, they went from global warming to climate change because they know they couldn't make the case for global warming with all of these fluctuations in climate. And so they changed to climate change, and of course, anytime the climate changes, you can say this supports your position. And of course, we've always had climate change. It's called the Four Seasons. But they too went into this tirade and this criticism by calling anybody who denies that we're having climate change to such a significant degree that the planet is warming up, that they are very similar to Holocaust deniers. So that's one part of Dawkins that is the ugly side of Dawkins, and Dawkins has said similar ugly things. But I want to stick more to his functioning arguments dealing with the creation-evolution debate. He writes, "It is the plain truth that we are cousins of chimpanzees, somewhat more distant cousins of monkeys, more distant cousins still of aardvarks and manatees, yet more distant cousins of bananas and turnips. Continue the list as long as desired." And he continues, "Evolution is a fact, and my book, The Greatest Show on Earth, will demonstrate it. No reputable scientist disputes it, and no unbiased reader will close the book doubting it." So you can either believe Dawkins and his book, or you can believe the Bible and that book. I mean, what's interesting here, and I've always made the case, there's no neutrality here. Everybody has a faith commitment in some worldview. And Dawkins is the one who has written this book. Here's the book. Open the book. And the word Bible in Greek it comes from the Greek word biblos. It's book. You know, he says, my book is going to tell you this. Read my book. I'm the author of this book. Read it. And if you don't believe it, you're a Holocaust denier. If you don't believe it, then you're really not a true scientist. Now, this is the dogmatism of the Darwinian fundamentalist faith writ large. And it's amazing that people are paying attention to this guy. But his idea that we are cousins of chimpanzees, somewhat more distant cousins of monkeys, more distant cousins still of aardvarks and manatees, going all the way back, of course, until what he believes is the first living organism came out of the primordial soup. The problem with that is, of course, if you know anything about the evolutionary hypothesis, it's nature red in tooth and claw. That the evolutionist teaches that it's the survival of the fittest. The strong prey on and consume and work on the downtroddeness of the weak. So we got where we are today by killing and maiming and eating others. And so what now separates us from that type of ascendancies through the evolutionary process? Well, Dawkins doesn't say. Now, he will try to maintain that morality is written into our DNA. No one's ever demonstrated such a thing empirically. Get the best microscope in the world, look at DNA and see if there's any encoded morality written on it. There isn't, and he knows it, and yet people continue to say that morality is written in our genes. I would suggest that you go onto YouTube. It's a segment from Planet Earth, and it is narrated by David Attenborough. and it's a chimp attack. It's two chimp populations, one going into to another chimp territory and killing, maiming, and eating these chimps. Now, according to Dawkins, it is a plain truth that we are cousins of chimpanzees, somewhat more distant cousins of monkeys. Now, again, if that's the case, what now separates us from the chimpanzee? They got there through nature, red in tooth and claw. Why can't we do the same? And you're finding atheists today who want to go into Haiti, which that's a good thing, but for what purpose? It seems to me that the Haitians are, they're weak. They should die. This is part of the evolutionary process. Why are you keeping these people alive, atheists, if you really believe in evolution? In another place, Dawkins says this. This is in his book, The Ancestor's Tale, A Pilgrimage to the Dawn of Life. The universe could so easily have remained lifeless and simple, just physics and chemistry, just the scattered dust of the cosmic explosion that gave birth to time and space. Now, I want you to understand something here. He believes that prior to the rise of life, which he still can't explain, and no one has ever been able to explain it, and no one can empirically demonstrate it, that the original beginning of the cosmos was just physics and chemistry, just the scattered dust of the cosmic explosion that gave birth to time and space. What he has to explain is how, with that being the reality, did what we call today biological life, with mind, with the concepts of love, ethics, the categories of good and evil, the reason, logic, mathematics, where did all that develop from when things were just physical chemistry, just scattered dust of the cosmic explosion that gave birth to time and space? Then he goes on to say, the fact that it did not, the fact that life evolved out of literally nothing, some 10 billion years after the universe evolved, literally out of nothing, is a fact so staggering that I would be mad to attempt words to do it justice. And even that is not the end of the matter. Not only did evolution happen, it eventually led to beings capable of comprehending the process by which they comprehend it. Now, these are nonsense statements. I mean, it is amazing to me that someone like Dawkins gets the hearing that he does. The universe evolved literally out of nothing. Now, when a Christian says that God created the world out of things not seen, or out of nothing, as some translations have it, we are mocked for such a belief. And yet he believes something even more astounding, that the universe itself created itself out of nothing with nothing behind it. Then he goes on in another place in his greatest show on earth. Listen to this, we have no evidence. Dawkins writes, we have no evidence about what the first step in making life was. No evidence. This is a scientist. Now, science is all about evidence. Science is all about the empirical evaluation of what is seen. And yet he says here, we have no evidence about the first step in making life. But we do know, he says, the kind of step it must have been. It must have been whatever it took to get natural selection started. Well, this is a tautology. He's arguing in a circle, the very thing that he claims Christians do. You're just arguing in a circle. Well, he's doing the same. And so Richard Dawkins' new book, The Greatest Show on Earth, is less than that. I suggest that you rent the movie starring Jimmy Stewart and Charlton Heston. You'll get a better bang for your buck.